Every morning at 5:30 a.m., while most of Columbus, Ohio was still wrapped in silence, a single light turned on inside a small apartment near High Street. And that light belonged to Daniel Harper, a 32-year-old man who was not famous, not rich, and not special by society standards, just an ordinary American working a customer support job at a mid-sized logistics company, living a life that once felt loud, scattered, and constantly overwhelming. A life filled with endless notifications, late mornings, rushed routines, and nights spent scrolling through a phone while promising himself that tomorrow would somehow be different, even though tomorrow always looked exactly the same. Because Daniel was not lazy or unmotivated, but deeply distracted, living in a world that never stopped pulling at his attention. Until one ordinary afternoon when his manager asked him a simple question during a meeting about a project he was responsible for. And Daniel froze. Not because he didn't care, but because his mind had been so divided between emails, messages, and noise that he genuinely couldn't remember. And later that day, his manager quietly told him, "You're capable, Daniel, but you're not present." Words that followed him home and echoed in his mind as he sat alone in his apartment staring at his phone, finally asking himself a painful question he had been avoiding for years. When was the last time he did one thing with his full attention? And he couldn't remember. So instead of chasing motivation or dramatic change, Daniel began reading slowly and intentionally and learned something uncomfortable but freeing. That focus isn't something you lose because you're weak. It's something you never trained. That discipline isn't about intensity or talent, but about structure. And deep focus isn't created by doing more, but by removing distractions consistently. So he made a small decision, not a grand announcement, just one simple rule. Every morning, before checking his phone, before emails, before the world demanded anything from him, he would spend one uninterrupted hour on a single, meaningful task. No notifications, no multitasking, no excuses. And the first week was brutal as his mind wandered every few seconds. Boredom crept in, anxiety rose, and quitting felt tempting. Yet Daniel stayed because he discovered that focus feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. And while motivation came and went, discipline didn't ask how he felt, it asked only whether he would show up. And so he did, day after day, imperfectly but consistently, planning his days the night before, setting clear priorities, learning to do less but better, choosing depth over speed and intention over urgency. And slowly the change began to show. Not dramatically, but quietly. As 3 months passed and his work improved, his manager noticed his confidence returned. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt calm, grounded, and mentally clear. Because deep focus didn't just change his productivity, it changed how he experienced life, making him listen better, think clearly, and act deliberately. And 1 year later, Daniel earned a promotion, not because he worked longer hours, but because he worked with presence. While others waited for motivation, he relied on discipline. While others chased shortcuts, he built momentum, proving that success is rarely loud and almost never overnight, but instead built in ordinary days repeated consistently. Because daily discipline isn't exciting or glamorous and doesn't earn applause, yet it works. And if you're listening to this feeling overwhelmed, distracted, or stuck, understand that you don't need a new life or a burst of motivation. You need one focused hour, one disciplined habit, one decision to show up, especially when it's hard. Because the world is noisy, distractions are endless, focus is under attack, and the people who rise are not the smartest or the luckiest, but the most disciplined. And when you master your focus through daily discipline, you don't just change your work, you change your future.
If you enjoyed watching, please like, subscribe, and share the video.